Africa holds trillions of dollars in the minerals that power our modern world. From the phone in your pocket to the electric car you might dream of owning, the materials inside them often begin their journey here. Yet, millions of people living directly above this incredible wealth remain among the poorest on Earth. So, where is all that money actually going? The truth is, this isn't a random outcome. It's a system carefully built and maintained over centuries. And understanding it is key to understanding the future of the global economy. Let's start with the paradox. Africa sits on some of the most valuable resources on the planet. The Democratic Republic of Congo alone produces the majority of the world's cobalt, which is essential for the batteries in our electronics and electric vehicles. Zimbabwe and Namibia hold vast reserves of lithium, another critical battery component. South Africa, Gabon, and Ghana are dominant forces in manganese production. These are the very materials that are expected to fuel global growth for decades to come, and the demand is skyrocketing. But here's where it gets strange. That immense wealth hasn't translated into widespread prosperity for the continent. Instead, a peculiar pattern repeats itself over and over. Africa exports its raw materials for a low price and then buys back the finished products made from those same materials at a much higher price. Take bauxite, the ore used to make aluminum. A ton of raw bauxite might sell for around $50, but once it's refined into aluminum, that same material can be worth over $1,700. The value doesn't just disappear, it moves, and with it go the jobs, the industries, and the opportunities for the future. When resources leave a country unprocessed, entire supply chains leave with them. Factories aren't built, specialized skills aren't developed. Local economies remain dependent on the volatile prices of raw commodities. And a deeper question begins to emerge: why does this keep happening? To find the answer, we have to look back, because this system wasn't an accident. It was designed. During the colonial era, infrastructure across Africa was constructed with one primary goal in mind: extraction. Railways and ports weren't built to connect African cities and economies to each other. They were built to move raw materials from the interior straight to the coast, and from there out of the continent and into global shipping lanes. That fundamental pattern never truly disappeared. It just evolved. Today, new global powers are part of the same dynamic. China has strategically secured major positions across Africa's mineral supply chains, especially in cobalt and copper. A large portion of these resources is exported directly to be processed abroad. At the same time, the United States and the European Union are now racing to secure their own access, framing it as a matter of national security. These minerals aren't just valuable anymore, they're strategic. Africa has become a central arena in a new global competition for resources. But the pressure isn't only external. There are significant internal barriers as well. Processing minerals is an incredibly energy-intensive business, and many African nations still face serious power shortages that make large-scale industrial operations difficult. Building refineries and smelters requires billions of dollars in investment, which is often hard to secure when faced with political or financial risk. On top of that, gaps in technology and local expertise make it even more challenging for countries to move up the value chain from simply digging resources out of the ground to creating finished products. So the system holds. The resources flow out. The value is added elsewhere, and the cycle of dependency continues. But after decades, something is finally starting to change. Across the continent, a new generation of leaders and policymakers is beginning to push back. They aren't just asking for a larger share of the profits. They are demanding control over their own resources. Zimbabwe has taken the bold step of restricting the export of raw lithium. The message to the world is clear: if you want our resources, you will process them here, creating jobs and value within our borders. Namibia has made similar moves to keep more value from its critical minerals at home. Ghana is pushing to build its own refineries for its bauxite, and the Democratic Republic of Congo is starting to use its dominant position in the cobalt market to gain more leverage in negotiations with global corporations. These are not isolated decisions. They represent a broader continent-wide shift in thinking. For the first time in decades, the balance of power may be changing. And this is where a much bigger vision comes into play: the African Continental Free Trade Area. This ambitious project aims to create a single, unified market across the continent, connecting over 1 billion people and a combined GDP of more than $3 trillion. The goal is simple but incredibly powerful. Keep more value within Africa. Imagine a future where minerals extracted in one African country are processed in another, and then turned into finished products like batteries or electronics in a third, all within the continent. That's not just economic growth. That is a fundamental transformation, and it's already beginning. From early-stage industrial projects to ambitious plans for full battery production chains, countries are starting to chart a new path beyond simple extraction. For decades, Africa's story has been one of enormous potential but limited return. A continent unimaginably rich in resources, yet largely disconnected from the full value of its own wealth. But that story is no longer fixed in stone. What we're witnessing now is not just resistance, it's a strategic repositioning. Africa is no longer content to just supply the world. It's beginning to negotiate with it, to build, to retain, to transform its own future. The question is no longer whether Africa is rich. We know it is. The real question is, who will control that wealth and where will the future be built? If you want to understand how these global shifts are reshaping our world, make sure to subscribe and follow along, because this story is only just beginning. And now, so do